Next, we're going to be looking at another song, Rock of Ages, also from Chapter 5 of Piano for the Developing Musician. On this one, you have a bit more complex harmony. I still would like you to take some time to analyze the harmony. Let's take a quick look at that together. So again, we look at the key signature first, and what we notice is we have a B flat, which indicates the key of F major. If we look through the piece, I think you'll find and agree with me that this is indeed in the key of F major. So I can write that here, F major. On this one, I'm going to go over with you how to do lead sheet symbols. I'd like you to do both lead sheet symbols and Roman numeral analysis on your pieces. But let's take a look at how to do lead sheet symbols here. So let's look at the notes, F and A. F and A, well, that's just going to be a root and a third, so that would be an F major chord. That's what I'll write here. Next, we look here. We have an E. There's a few ways to analyze this. You could say, well, we've got an E. You could say, well, the F and the A are still carrying. You could analyze this as a passing. You could say, I'm not going to count this as a chord. I'm just going to count this as a passing tone. You could count this as a passing tone. That's one way to analyze this. And I think that's a fair way to analyze it. You could also make some assumptions. Say, well, I've just got the E. Maybe that's like a 7 chord. Right? That's another way of thinking of it. Okay, so I'll put those in parentheses, just assuming that you're thinking of them as non-chord tones. Now if we look at the second bar, what notes do we have? D, F, C. Well, if we build that up, D, F, and C, well, then we're omitting the fifth of this chord. This would make this a D minor 7 chord. The way we notate that in lead sheet symbol is like this, D minor 7. Next chord, C, E, C. Well, again, that's just C and E, which would be the root and the third. That would be the 5 chord in F major, or just a C major chord. Next measure, we have B flat, D, and G. This is an inversion. B flat, D, G. If we look at it here, we can see that G is the outlier. It's the root of the chord. So this is a G minor chord because we have a B flat, but G is not in the bass because it's inverted. Therefore, we'll see G minor over the bass note, which in this case is B flat. You can write it like this, or you can write it like this. G minor over B flat. Either way is correct. Just like in the first measure where we analyzed these notes as passing tones, we'll just go ahead and call these passing tones as well. Followed by G, B flat, and D, which is a G minor chord in root position. Moving forward. C and A. You only have 2 notes. Therefore, we have to treat it like a root and a third. In this case, the root would be A and C would be the third. So this would be A minor. But the bass note is not A, so we're going to notate 8 minor over the bass note, which is C. Going on, we have C sharp, B flat, and G. Might seem like a complicated chord, but it really isn't. I'll show you how to look at it. C sharp, G, and we're going to build above the bass note, B flat. If we look at it this way, we can easily see that the third has been omitted, which is an E. So C sharp, E, G is a diminished triad. C sharp to B flat is a diminished 7th. So this is a C sharp diminished chord. One way to write that is C sharp diminished, like this. This is how lead sheet symbol will typically notate it. You could use the degree symbol. If you're thinking Roman numerals, well, this makes a lot of sense because in F major, the relative minor is D minor. And in the key of D minor, the 7 chord is C sharp diminished. So this is a 7 of D minor, or a 7 of 6. So Roman numerals, to give you a sense of what's actually happening here, This is a diminished 7 of 6, like this. That's the function of that chord. Then of course we end up with D minor, as we'd expect, D, F, A. And the last chord of the measure is G minor. So I'd like you to go forward and actually analyze all of the chords here. Use your theory skills. Exercise your mind a bit. Now let's talk about how to play this. This piece is in a few sections, so let's take a look at the left hand first and look for some patterns. In the very beginning, we can see that we have a descending scale. And what scale does it look like? F, E, D, C, B flat, A, G. If you said an F major scale, you're absolutely right. So, since it's an F major scale, I suggest using the F major fingering. So that would be 1, 2, 3, shift, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's a very easy way of doing that. Going on. There's a few ways to do this. You could shift up and do 3, 2, 1. Or you could stay in the same position and do 1, 2, 1 with a crossover. On the second system, using the thumb on the C is a good idea. It'll prepare you for the 5 on the F. Measure 9. Here you have a few options. Definitely starting with the thumb makes the most sense. One option is to do an open hand position where you're thinking all the way ahead to this F here, that octave. So if we're thinking F1, F, 5th finger, then the natural finger would be second finger on the C, third finger on the B flat. That's one particular fingering. If you don't really have a big hand and you prefer not to keep it so open, then what you could do instead is something like 1, 3, 1, 4, or 3, up to you. And then I would then suggest shifting to 1, 1, 1, 5, or even 2, 2, 5, up to you. So this is another good option. My suggestion is to try both fingerings, determine which is most comfortable for you, and stick with it. Going on, 1 makes sense, 3, 2, 1, 4 makes sense. Unless, of course, you're using the big hand fingering, in which case your second finger would still be on this note. I'll put that in the parentheses here. So second finger, this A would be fourth finger, third finger, second finger, and then now this would become fifth finger. Going on, you have a few options here. I'll suggest a couple ways for you to do this. Again, if you're using that open hand position, you can do 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3. And then on this final system here, it would be 2, 2, 1, 2, 4, 3, 2, 5. The nice thing about this fingering is you don't have to shift at all. That fingering basically stays the same. 2, 2, 1, 2. Next page. 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then look here. We have something that looks a little bit like part of the F major scale, but it's not the complete scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll shift to our thumb on this D. Stretch to third finger on the A, second finger on the B flat, fifth finger on the F. Going on, You can either do 3, 2, like this, or you can do 2, 1. The benefit of using 2, 1 is it's going to be a smaller hand position. The benefit of using 3, 2, it's going to allow you to be legato if you want to this F over here. But it's unnecessary. This is the end of a phrase and the beginning of the next phrase. So there's time to jump. Then we have our descending scale, just like the beginning. This is no different. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to the last two systems, measure 37. Here, we've got a few options. I'm going to suggest that you start on second finger. The reason why is the lowest note of this pattern is a G. That's going to be fifth finger, which means this makes sense. 2, 2, 1, 5. On this next part, you're going to have no choice but to do some shifting. You could do something like this. If you want to do a substitution, you could do 2, then shift, 5, 3, 1. That's an option. If you didn't like that, you can go ahead and jump to fifth finger here and do 5, 5, 3, 1. That's an option. You can also do something different. Lots of different choices for you. This scale is the same as the other two scales, so we'll use the same fingering. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this is also the same as the very beginning of the piece. It's just one octave higher. So again, you can either do 3, 2, 1, or you can do 1, 2, 1. And then you have your ending. This will probably be a 4. 1, 1, 5. That's the fingering for the left hand. Obviously, you'll probably have to break this video up and listen to certain parts of it because we're kind of just doing an overview. It would take very, very long for me to sit and kind of walk you through every single step methodically. But I just want to do an entire overview, make sure you have an understanding and can refer to this video with any questions you may have. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at the right hand fingering. All right, so the right hand. Fingering that makes the most sense here is going to be 1, 3. 1, 3. And then fourth finger here. And then 1, 5 here. Still 1, 5. And then you've got a couple options here. You could either do 1, 3 or 1, 2. Either works beautifully. So I'm going to suggest, since a lot of us have smaller hands, 1, 3, then 4, then 1, 5. You could also do 1, 2, 3, 1, 4. Both will work very, very nicely for you. Next, we have parallel sixth here. You could do something like 1, 5 and just do that all the way through. 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5. That's one way to do it. If you have larger hands and you can kind of play more legato, you could do something like 1, 5, 1, 4, even going to 1, 3. Then back up to either 1, 4, 1, 5, kind of up to you. There's lots of ways to kind of do the fingering on this. Okay. So the benefit of changing fingers is it's going to allow certain parts to be legato, like the top line. A, G, F can now be legato 5, 4, 3 because the finger numbers are changing. So if this were me, I might be doing something a little bit like this. 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 4, 1, 3. But again, it's not necessary. You can just do 1, 5 all the way through if you're more comfortable with that. Going on. These first two notes, the easiest, most logical choice would be like 4, 1, 4. You could do also 3, 1, 3. You could even use 2, 1, 2, but that's kind of a big stretch and pretty unnecessary. Then again, we have parallel 6. This can be 1, 5 all the way down. Or again, you could do something like I demonstrated here. 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 4, 1, 3. Or any derivation. Basically, anytime you're dealing with sixth, 1, 4, 5, 1, 4, and 1, 3 are all options. Using the thumb on the bottom note and, 5, 4, 3 on the top note. You can also do 2, 5. That's another option too. So, for example, if you're doing 2, 5, this might be 2, 5. 2, 5, and then this, if you did that, this would be 1, 4. The benefit of using the second finger like this is now both notes can actually be legato. 5 to 4th finger, second finger to thumb. This is a little bit more of an advanced fingering. Again, I'm perfectly fine with you using 1, 5 all the way down. Everyone's hands are different, so you really do want to spend some time experimenting and seeing what fits your hand the best. Going on, measure 13, this is going to be 1, 4, 1, 5. Here you could do either 1, 2 or 1, 3. Here I would recommend 1, 4, 1, 5. The D is tied, so you're not going to play this D. And back to 1, 4. Or again, you can use 1, 5. And then here this can be 1, 3, or it can be 2, 4. And depending if it's 2, 4, you'll do 3. And if you do 1, 3, this will be 2. This next part is exactly the same. It repeats. This next section is also identical. So it's the same thing twice. I'm not going to go through the fingering there again. Let's take a look at the top of the second page. So looking at the right hand here, I would say 1, 4, 1, 3. All of those are options here. If you're doing 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, then start 1, 4. You could do 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5. That's an option. An advanced fingering, where your goal is to get a little bit more legato, you could even do 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, or even 2, 5. You see? Completely up to you. Again, experiment, see what's comfortable, and also decide what's kind of important to you. Then we have a descending scale. This scale is F major, so we're just going to use F major fingering. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crossover. 3, 2, 3, 1, 2. Except you've got this D right over here. You see that D? That's going to have to be taken with the right hand, which means you're going to use